Hi, and welcome to Campus Mortgage, the mortgage industry's leading provider of underwriting, processing, quality control, servicing, and closing training. Before we get started, please take a moment to read Campus Mortgage's disclaimer and keep in mind the information contained in this video is time sensitive and subject to change without notice. Now let's get started. Today we will be discussing part 1 of a 3-part video series which covers processing properties located in disaster areas. This series will cover identifying an incident. We will go over the mortgage lender's responsibilities when a disaster strikes, the different inspection requirements, and some additional guideline flexibilities that Fannie Mae offers. When a major weather event, fire, or other incident impacts an area, lenders must reevaluate the condition of the mortgaged collateral before that loan is eligible to be sold on the secondary market. A disaster can impact your loan approval in various ways. There can be new conditions to meet, conditions that may not be able to be met any longer based on the borrower's new circumstances, or there can be repairs that can impact that borrower's assets. So when a disaster strikes, it's not just a matter of reevaluating that property. We also have to reevaluate that loan approval. This series will focus on the different inspections that will become required. But before we talk about that, let's first discuss what a lender is required to certify when a disaster strikes a lending market. First, we must identify if the subject property is in an area that was impacted by the disaster. The official presidentially declared disaster areas are announced by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, also known as FEMA. FEMA has a website, which we've included a link to here, where you can regularly check different disaster announcements. You can visit the website and you can search by state or zip code so you can make sure you're up to date on the most current announcements for your area. But in addition to FEMA, it's very important to just know your markets. The disaster procedures that a lender may have in place do not have to be followed only when FEMA makes an official announcement. If you're aware of a disaster or a weather event that's impacting your market, you may want to get ahead of the game and start following those disaster procedures instead of just waiting for FEMA to declare that announcement. Sometimes those FEMA declarations can come a week. Sometimes we've seen them come maybe a month after that event has happened. And so if you're waiting that long before starting your disaster procedures, you just added some additional delays into the processing time for that loan. So now that we've identified that a disaster has happened in our market, let's talk about the different requirements that a lender has. A mortgage lender has certain requirements they must meet in order to sell or deliver closed loans to different government-sponsored entities, those GSEs or other secondary investors. So when delivering a closed loan, lenders must warrant that that mortgaged collateral, so the property, is not damaged by fire, windstorm, or other perils. In order to make these warranties, lenders have different procedures that they must have established regarding inspecting those impacted properties. These procedures must give the lender the ability to reconsider the value, the property condition, and different marketability changes that may have been impacted by the disaster. So for example, if there is a major road in a rural area and that major road is how you get into or away from the subject property, that road was damaged by some sort of weather event or major disaster, that could have a huge impact on the marketability of that property. So the lender would not be able to warrant to their investors that the marketability was not impacted by the disaster. So after a disaster strikes, the lender must be able to not only certify that the property is still eligible, but also confirm that the property has adequate insurance coverage. For example, maybe a property wasn't identified as being in a flood zone, but a major disaster strikes and that property got flooded. The lender may then need to reevaluate the insurance coverage for that property and may require that homeowner to now carry flood insurance. Now that we've went over what some of the lender requirements are and what are those things that a lender has to warrant when selling a closed loan, we will continue to discuss the necessary inspections in part 2 of this series that the lender may require in order to make those warranties. So this concludes part 1 of this 3-part video series. For more videos, tips, and for a full list of courses offered by Campus Mortgage, please visit our website at www.campusmortgage.org. Thank you, and as always, make it a great day.